Todd. Welcome to another HVAC Insider Series brought to you by Breezy. Now, today's conversation is all about something that a lot of contractors are feeling heavy right now, and that's AI is everywhere. It seems like there's a new tool out every week, and it's just like a lot of confusion happening right now. So I don't think the problem is that contractors aren't adopting AI. I think we all know at this point how important it is. But I think the real risk comes with all of these AI tools that are being developed by people that don't really understand the industry and sold by teams that are really incentivized to close deals and not incentivized to really help you make sure that those systems work together. So that's really how money gets wasted and teams get confused. And today is all about what actually matters in HVAC right now in the AI space and how to implement that successfully. So we're going to help you make smart decisions when incorporating AI into your home service business. But before we get into the content today, I'd love to just kind of share that I'm going to be at Epic 2026 in Vegas. Super excited for that. If you're going to Vegas, drop Vegas in the chat. I would love to see who we're going to run into out there at Epic. But really excited to be there. It's coming up in just about 3 weeks, and it's always one of the best shows in the industry. So if you're considering going, maybe you haven't bought your ticket yet, I got a $100 off discount code, so you can see that on the screen. You can head over to epic2026.com and put in that coupon code. It is SU9PSEN. For some reason, they didn't make that very easy for me this year, but regardless, super pumped to be out there. And for anybody who's new to the show, the Breezy HVAC Insider Series, we bring you one every other week, 3 a month, it seems like at this point. So we're all about ongoing success for HVAC contractors, bringing really thoughtful experts and thought leaders onto the show to give you proven tips and tricks, strategies to help you succeed. And all of those recordings are available on our YouTube channel. And Breezy, at the end of the day, we want to support contractors. AI should do, everything that you need it to do and nothing that you don't. Really be a force multiplier for your business. And we incorporate AI natively into so many business practices at Breezy. So we want to help you in 2 different ways, right? So path 1, if you switch to Breezy, or maybe you're looking to upgrade your operating system, Breezy has that AI-powered HVAC specific platform that helps you capture and respond to leads faster, protect your revenue, book calls after hours online. The opportunities are really endless with our CRM. And, if you're happy with your software and you don't want to switch, we can put some of those AI lead capture tools on top of your existing software framework. So either way, we're here to help you, and no pressure at all. But if at any point during today's call you want to schedule a demo to see how any of that works, you can scan the QR code that you'll see on the screen. So my man, Seth Ure of SetSale, really pumped to have him on. Seth builds AI directly inside of HVAC sales workflows with his really groundbreaking software, SetSale. You might not have heard of it yet because it's so brand new, but it is absolutely revolutionizing the way that the sales presentations are made, gathering data from your CRM and comparing that with your price book and giving you an almost instant proposal that you can show the homeowner in the home. So it's super cool. And he's not here to sell the tools though, but he's really here to help you understand what AI you should consider and what you should avoid, and to give you a proven framework for adopting AI successfully, and like what's coming down the pike, what you should look out for. So Seth and Breezy, we partnered to put together this really extensive HVAC AI playbook. And this report outlines where AI is currently having the biggest impact in our industry, which tools actually matter right now, and a framework for spotting kind of those bad AI companies that I warned you about. Some of those kind of more, I wouldn't say predatory, but maybe they just are like out of touch with the actual HVAC industry and really don't have the right tools for you. And then a practical framework for actually evaluating and implementing AI without creating a bunch of chaos for everybody, because it's meant to help us streamline, not create more confusion, right? So as a thank you for joining us today, This playbook is being offered absolutely free. So you can scan that QR code now. I'll also drop the link in the chat today. And please go head over there and grab that. You just pull it right down from our Google Drive. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Seth from SetSale. Seth, my guy, what is up? Thanks for joining the show today.
What's up, CJ? Thanks for having me on. This is awesome. Always
Absolutely.
enjoy our conversations. I always learn something when I talk to you. I always feel like, hey, that was fun.
Yeah, for sure. The feeling is mutual. So a lot of people in that poll just now are confused by, just all the options out there. It seems like,
Yeah,
maybe the CRM or the, field management software has a bunch of tools that they have access to, but they're not turned on, or,
yeah.
there's a lot of competition in certain spaces. Like, what are you seeing out there?
I mean, welcome to the club. I mean, everybody's confused by all the. I mean, one thing we've seen in the last year is just the absolute proliferation of AI tools or offerings and many of them are free, but then they're basically trying to get your data. And then many of them are
Mm,
paid, and the cost always feels like I can't tell if this is a fair cost or if I'm just getting absolutely hosed here because someone just sees me as a mark. Um, in fact, I was at a show. I don't remember this, what, 6 months ago, sometime in the last several months, I was at a show, one of those big shows, like an industry show, and I was walking around and I counted up all the different AI vendors just at this show. And there was like 12 different AI vendors that had all come out in the last little bit. And I talked to all of them and I was asking their price points and whatnot. And I figured out that if I was going to sign up for all of these different AI vendors, because they all did different stuff, it would be like $11,000, $12,000 a month that I'd be paying. And then I'd have to find some way for them to all talk to each other. And the funny thing is, if you talk to like the people, some of these like AI software development guys, oh, it's really easy. You just draft up some Zap hooks, and you can tie this in. It's like, guys, I don't think you understand how contractors operate. Okay, they didn't go into HVAC or plumbing or electrical because they're really good at development work and drafting up Zap hooks. Okay, that's not what they do. They actually come into your home and fix things and make it work correctly. They don't sit in front of a computer doing this all day. And so I kind of chuckled when I was like, I mean, there's all these other, and I asked the question to several of them. I was like, how does it tie into all these other solutions? So like, oh, they can tie it in if they want to. Okay, that's not very helpful. And so
right.
I guess at the high level is like, look, everybody's confused. So if you feel like you're a little bit lost, you're completely normal. I mean, how many people are going to tell you you could have an agent of AI drafting up every single part of your business? And you're like, how do I do that? What does that look like? I mean, you tell me I can sit on my butt all day long while AI does everything for me. I don't really believe that vision of the future. I think if somebody tells you that, I think they're trying to get money out of your pockets. So, um, yeah, the high level answer to that is if you feel confusion, you're completely normal right now. That's a normal
Mm,
way to feel. And really, don't worry about it. Don't get lost in the weeds because there's so many solutions. Just take them one at a time. If somebody approaches you with something, look at it, decide if it makes any sense for you. And if it doesn't, don't be afraid to say no. Don't get FOMO. Like, oh my gosh, I'm going to say no. I'm going to miss out on this big thing. Guess what? You can always sign it up for that thing next month. You know what I mean? You'll be okay. Like, you don't need to have FOMO. You just make good decisions for your business. Everybody's confused right now about all the AI options.
absolutely. I agree. And apologies in advance. I might have to mute and cough. I'm a little under the weather. It's been a really terrible flu season with two kids. So thanks for that. So at just like a really high level, let's talk about what AI should be doing inside of a business and maybe what it shouldn't be doing. Where the human elements still need to be, and where does the AI need to be?
Yeah. So I think that people are socially cooperative creatures. I think that we enjoy having conversations. I'm sure you've had this experience where, you're going through your day and it kind of sucks. And you start talking to somebody and it turns into a really nice conversation. Afterwards, you feel good. You feel like better than you felt before because we are social creatures, like we're social animals, we're pack animals. And so I think that if there's an opportunity for human connection, that you should not try to outsource that to AI. I think if there's, and I will say, there's a difference between human connection opportunity and just a basic transactional thing, right? A person calling in to set an appointment with you isn't looking for necessarily a human connection. Now, if they're an 85-year-old grandmother and they haven't talked to anybody all day, they might see that as an opportunity. But most people aren't trying to have some really wonderful, pleasant conversation with their HVAC contractor. They're trying to get you out of their house. Now, when you go to their house, that's a chance to connect and be human. So there are certain sort of very transactional interactions that you have with other people, and some of that stuff can very easily be outsourced to AI. But if you have a chance to really connect with somebody, don't outsource that. That's how you dehumanize your business. And the truth is, people do business with people who they like to do business with. So if they like you personally, or the guys who you're sending out because you have a good culture in your team, they're going to do business with you. And so don't try to take that part away. I think that human element becomes even more important as all the rest of it gets automated into AI. People still want to have that connection. And so I'd be real reluctant to bring AI too much into that stuff.
Yeah, I think you make a really good point there. And I think where contractors need to be really decisive is where is that line drawn? Because as you said, somebody calling in that is technically, historically been a human being talking to that
Yeah.
person. But as homeowners are kind of skewing younger and, millennials, Gen Z, they are more comfortable with a human light or human not at all,
Hmm.
experience when it comes to research, when it comes to the initial kind of buying activity, like the buying action. So at what point do you implement AI to make that experience frictionless? And at what point do you introduce a human to humanize your brand, build the relationship between the homeowner and the brand, and ultimately position a membership plan, right? So that's something that as we talk today, I'll kind of invite all of our guests to kind of think about where that line exists with AI support versus kind of human connection.
Yeah. I was talking to um, a friend the other day, and they were telling me that they don't like going to church. And I was like, really? And this isn't the point of this, isn't religious, but they were saying that part of the reason that they didn't love going to church is because when they were walking down the hall and there was another person walking in the other direction towards them, and there was like this 15 to 20-second gap while they were walking towards each other, they didn't know what to do. They felt really socially anxious, and they just felt like it was so awkward that it made them not want to go to church. And I, I, I heard that, and I laughed afterwards. I chuckled. I cannot relate. I can't relate to that because
Right.
to me, I'm like, really? That? But it was a realization because people have always been socially anxious, but more and more we can live in our little cloistered bubbles where we don't have to actually go interact with human beings, and people are living in an online world. And so that social anxiety that you normally overcome as a child is not being overcome. And so the takeaway here, especially as it comes down to AI, is that people do want human connection, but they also want it on their terms.
Sure.
Like 50 years ago, people just were thrown out into society and you have to socially interact. Nowadays, because people are as it generally more socially anxious, like if you're going to connect with somebody, you have to do it in a way that they're comfortable, which usually means on their turf, in their home, in their way that matters, and you have to be invited in. You can't just go crash in on somebody and expect them to be like, "How's it going?" Like it's not the
Right.
1950s where someone knocks on the door and all the kids go running to the door, "Come on in." You know what I'm saying? So the reason I say that is because keeping track of where AI and where human psychology overlap and how you merge those things together, that's really going to be a big part of the key to being successful with AI.
Absolutely. So let's zoom out and kind of identify some of the key areas where you see AI having the most impact right now in inside of the HVAC industry.
Yeah, yeah. I'm going to answer this at a high level and then kind of
Sure.
drill down to what that means, which is I have three beliefs, that, and I would say set sale is a reflection of these three beliefs, right? Which is that the first is that the contractor is the source of all value in this industry, right? All value, every single dollar that enters the industry enters through the contractor with the homeowner. And then let's say if a homeowner gives a contractor $10,000, let's get split up into a whole bunch of little tiny pieces. And every single person who feeds into this industry, that's the manufacturer, that's the parts and supplies, that's the financing, all of it is taking a little tiny piece of that initial $10,000. So the contractor is the source of all value in the industry. And contractors follow the path of least resistance when it comes to adopting new technologies. And that's not because they're dumb, that's because they're smart. That's efficiency. Like, I'm not going to do something that's harder that delivers the same outcome as if I can do something that's easier that delivers the same outcome. So all of us are naturally going to find the path of least resistance to get to where we want to go. And that's true of me and you, that's true of contractors as well in building out their business. And so the key to providing really easy solutions is data. So in order for AI to be successful, it has to use the correct data, which means there's a lot of data silos out there. And you hear people talk about data silos. Like, if you're tracking your pricing in an Excel spreadsheet, that's a data silo. Because that information that you're putting into Excel, it's not actually connected to anything else. It lives in your brain. It's a data silo. If you're writing out your proposals on a piece of paper, that's a data silo. Like, all of the things that you're doing, all of the information that lives in your head, if we can find a way to get that into a system that is both digitized and connected to other things, that means that everything that you do, that you're like, oh, I can't outsource this to an employee, it's way too complicated, they'll never understand. Like, you don't trust other people to do it the same way. If we could take all of that out of your head, we can digitize that information and really collect the tribal knowledge, the institutional knowledge you've collected over the last 30 years, then we can now get AI to automate so much of that. So you don't have to think about it. And so a good example of this is, like, I always ask people, how many phone numbers do you have memorized? They're like, oh, I don't know, two, maybe three, right? And then you say, well, 20 years ago, how many phone numbers do you have memorized? It's like, oh, it was like at least 20, 25. Why? Because you know that every single time you need that piece of information, it's going to be on your phone. It's right there. You don't have to remember it, right? Then people's like sense of direction, like getting around town, has gone way down because, you know, when I get in the car, I turn on Google Maps and it tells me exactly where to go. So I don't have to pay attention to where I'm driving anymore. And so the key to this is, first of all, we need to find ways to unsilo the data. That means whatever your processes are in your business, where it's like it just goes into something, you have a spreadsheet, you have a little paper notebook, you write stuff down. We need to find a way to digitize that and connect it so that we can actually get AI to successfully read your mind, right? Because that's the one thing it can't do. It can't read your mind. So you have to take what's in your brain, but to somehow find a way to get that information down into one of your systems so we can connect everything. And so that the information you need, you don't have to remember it. It'll be there right when you need it. So I think the key, and now I can't actually remember your original question, but but the key, to this is connecting, giving AI the information that it needs to do stuff effectively to help you.
Right. Silos, good for grain, bad for data.
There's your tagline right there.
So the original question was, where do you see AI making the most impact
Yes.
currently in the HVAC, like in operations? Like,
Uh-huh.
what departments do you see,
Yes. Yeah.
it working well in?
Yeah. So this is, I remembered now why I shared that overview, which is the data and the silos. So anywhere that a person is using like their brain to manually figure this stuff out, and there's a whole bunch of information they feel like they can't trust others to make, or there's data that's not communicating effectively with other data. So in terms of, like, let's say an HVAC contractor, as an example, where are your silos? Okay, just take your daily business and figure out, what do you do every single day? So your person who comes in and answers the phone every single day, are they recording everything they do? Is their process digitized and written down somewhere? What about when you dispatch a tech? Is their process completely written down? Are you capturing the mileage data? Are you All of these different pieces of information that live in your business are all little tiny bits of data. It's information that you can use to optimize the operations. So where is it implemented? Honestly, everywhere, but it might not be everywhere at the same time for you in your business, because a big mistake I see people making is they think they're going to implement 8 different systems at the same time. You can't do that. Like, pick one, do that thing correctly, pick the next thing. So where do I see it? Operations, sales, dispatch, scheduling. I mean, every single part of your business. There are AI solutions right now that are really freaking awesome. Like, they really are. It's a question of whether it makes sense for your business right now.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. And you mentioned sales, so I think that would probably be a good segue into what you're doing at SetSale. So Personally, how are you applying AI at SetSale to kind of improve the consistency, speed, outcomes in the sales process?
hmm Yeah, well, thank you for giving me an opportunity to show my own product. I'm a little biased, but I think it's really freaking cool what we're doing. I'm really excited about it. So, if you think about the sale itself, what are the pieces of data that have to go into the sale? Well, the first element is pricing. I have to know my pricing on my equipment, from my parts and supplies, from my IAQ add-ons, that type of stuff, so 10-year labor parts, all that kind of stuff. What are my financing fees? What do I pay in commissions? Because ultimately, I've got to build a price to a homeowner. And that means I have to have all of the inputs accurately. So we have basically an automated price book creation tool. So we do the price book creation from the distributor. We have integrations with some distributors. If you think that sounds cool and you ask your distributor they don't have one, have them get in touch with us. We'd love to create a integration with your distributor. But that information then feeds automatically from the distributor into your set sale environment. It also feeds inventory information so you can see what's in stock at any given point in time. And then we have a pricing driver, pricing engine, and you set some basic price drivers, and it's going to essentially, once you do that, it creates all the pricing for every matchup you'll ever create. So you think there's a lot of things that can go wrong just on the pricing side. There's just so many elements to this, right? We have a built-in load calc piece where in roughly 10 seconds you can generate a load calc for the thing, which is ACA certified and can be utilized for most locations or geographies that are rebating and permitting and stuff like that. So that saves a bunch of time too, right? So all of these different things that you normally spend all this time, think when you get a price change, how much time do you spend updating your price book? In this case, they push a button and boom, it automatically pushes in. If you don't have an integration, you just drag and drop your price sheet in there, and in 60 seconds, you just updated your pricing. So all of that piece, AI just takes that whole piece over and automates it. Same with a rate, with your rates, like your financing dealer fees, get a price change, boom, drag and drop in your rate sheet, you just update all your dealer fees. So super easy. And then on the front end side of the creation of the proposal itself, there's all of these best practices. So a big part of this industry is implementing all of the things that you've been trained on for 10 years. Um, and if it can take all of those best practices and build them directly into a software system, now what you have is you have a system that fits your business as opposed to having to change your business to fit the software. And so, like earlier in the conversation you brought up, there's all these people coming in from outside the industry and they're introducing all these tools and they look really cool and they look really slick, but you're like, that's not how I do things in my business. And that's a big challenge that I've seen for a long time in this industry is I've got software that's built by people within the industry that feels a little clunky and kind of ugly. Then I've got software that's built, but it's functional. I have software built by people outside the industry and it's slick and it's cool, but that's not how I run my business. So what we've really tried hard to do is understand how people run their business, then create a process within the software that fits all of the things that you want to do in your business anyway. So that's what we've tried to do with SetSale. We also have an AI-driven in-home presentation tool that concludes in the proposal where it simulates a digital checkout process. The homeowner can play with it and mess with it and sort of customize what they want. It's got an e-checkout process. It's got built-in financing, all of that kind of stuff. So taking all the stuff that you normally do and just making the system the solution to all of those things, incorporating the best practices.
Right. And you hit the nail on the head. And I think it's interesting to look at kind of the history of how software has evolved in the HVAC industry is that it used to be HVAC owners having a problem and going out into the marketplace
Mhm.
and building a solution for it. Where you touched on, they have the operational expertise and knowledge, maybe not a good kind of project manager for a software developer, but
Uh-huh.
they create a functional, a hyper functional tool. And then nowadays, it's like, with all the PE coming into the industry and Silicon Valley understanding that, the service businesses need solutions,
Mhm.
they're creating solutions for what they think they need, and then they're selling them. So it's like both ends of the spectrum, right?
Yeah.
So what I appreciate about you is that you've been in the industry for a very, very long time. So you understand what contractors need, and you're a very intelligent person and can kind of understand how to put a technical team in place to build the tool. So it's like the best of both worlds. And that's why I was really excited to have you on the show. And I have kind of a demo video. I'm down to play. It kind of illustrates everything that you just said.
Yeah, that'd
You
be
cool with
cool.
that?
Yeah, let's
All
do
right,
it.
cool. Just a couple minutes.
For Uncle Rob's HVAC contractor on a service call at a customer's home. You just inspected their system and told them it needs to be replaced. Now the customer needs a quote. Fortunately, you have SetSale. You open SetSale on your iPad and hit Create Quote. Type the customer's address and their information is automatically pulled up from your CRM. Next, simply choose the equipment category and size you want to offer. No need to look up specific model numbers, matchups, packages, or pricing. SetSale does all the work for you. Tap Submit, and in under 5 seconds, you have a completed quote. The quote includes 4 equipment matchup options, differentiated by price and efficiency, a feature section highlighting the benefits of each system, and a list of supplies necessary to install this system. You can choose which add-ons you want to offer the customer at checkout if they've expressed interest. Financing plans are automatically and intelligently selected to make premium equipment more affordable. Finally, you get to see full pricing details to make sure the job has a healthy profit margin. The quote looks good to you, so you share it with the customer via text and email. That's it. Your customer taps the link in the text message and gets a customized, interactive sales presentation. It has their name on it, your company name and branding, and includes only slides that are relevant based on the equipment you're selling. The customer reviews the options. They eliminate some, then decide the gold option looks affordable. They select a couple add-ons for only a few more dollars per month, then click checkout. A contract is generated for this job for the customer to review. They sign their name and hit submit. At this point, a copy of the contract is sent to your office as well as the customer. Congratulations, you just sold your first comfort system in a matter of minutes.
Now, I guess somebody at Set Sail is a Ninja Turtle fan because Leonardo Donatello was the demo customer. But
Yeah,
yeah,
most of our demo customers are Splinter and Shredder and Raphael and Michelangelo. So yeah, we have a lot of
cool.
Ninja Turtle demos.
Nice. Yeah, I love how seamless it is. And you talked about, equipping your software with data from kind of all sides. And it's CRM data for the customer, it's sales, pricing data from your price book, it's financing data, it's all there. And so talk to me a little bit about like how fast that proposal is generated, because what we don't want to do is have a great demonstration and then have to go back out to the truck for 30 minutes and put together this presentation and come back in. And by that time, the kids are out of school, mom's got to make lunch, like the whole process is closed. Like, talk to me about what the timeline of putting that proposal together and sending it to the customer is.
Yeah, it's a great question. It's typically 30 seconds or so. So it's super fast. And there's a not, obviously, that's a 2-minute video, so you don't see a bunch of the things going on in the background. But as the contractor, you can actually go into your settings and create like smart templates. And so you effectively are telling the AI, hey, when you generate, let's say, a quote for, let's say, heat pump, I want you to select these attributes and have these rules on my platinum and have this on my gold, this on my silver, this on my federal minimum. So that I'm just telling the AI kind of build it this way for me. And then when I hit click, it's usually 1 second and it generates hopefully about 95 to 99% of what I want. So you really shouldn't be changing anything. Really, all you're doing is just
Sure.
reviewing and making sure it looks good. Then you hit present and now you're with the homeowner. So it's super fast. I mean, to your point, time kills all deals. And in this industry, time is really compressed because somebody is uncomfortable because their, climate control system is not operating correctly. And so they're way more impatient. And I always think about this stat I heard, which is that an average family of four trip to Disneyland costs about $10,000 to $12,000, and they will spend on average 15 to 20 hours researching that trip and that expenditure. And your average HVAC system today is about $13,200, and they will spend an average of 90 minutes making that
Wow.
decision. So it's everything is really compressed. And if you take 30 minutes to go back out to your truck, the homeowner isn't just sitting there waiting for you to come back with the information. To your point, they're distracted with life, or even worse, they're calling their family members or neighbors to see who replaced their last system and how much it cost, which is the last thing you want because anybody they talk to doesn't know anything, right? They're going to, no matter who they call, they're getting bad information that you're then going to have to fight with when you come back into that house. So being able to seamlessly transition that conversation of, we just looked at your system together. I just explained to you. Then I said, you have 10, 15 minutes. We can sit down somewhere comfortable. We walk over to the kitchen table. I pull out my iPad and 30 seconds later, I turn it around and I say, hey, let's go over our options together. That's a much better experience for both you and the homeowner because they don't want to sit around wasting all this time. Like, you don't want to rush them, but their time is valuable. You're a grudge purchase. You're like going to the dentist. They don't want to do it, okay? You're only there because something broke, not because they like you and not because they're excited about their new system, right? They have to do this. And so making it as quick and painless and as easy and customizable as possible is sort of the name of the game.
Absolutely. That Disneyland vignette, that's going to definitely be a post-event clip. That's a really interesting data point. And so there's a lot of complex things flying around. If anybody has questions, I'm inviting you to, post those in the chat and we'll get to them during the Q&A at the end. So we talked about sales. If you download that HVAC AI playbook, there are 6 key components inside of your HVAC business where AI is making a huge impact, along with some kind of key metrics that you need to look out for in each of those focus areas and some companies that we trust. Some of them are our companies, some of them are our competitors, but we really did our best to create kind of a map of all of the tools that are actually making an impact. So that's going to be in marketing, branding, lead generation, speed to lead. That's going to be in customer service, booking, call center. It's going to be in scheduling, routing, and dispatch, the sales process, administrative operations, and operational visibility and decision support. So those are the 6 key areas that are in the HVAC AI playbook. And I want to kind of turn the discussion now to, there's a lot of AI tools that are meant to completely replace the CSR, the call centers. There are some schools of thought that should be a place where AI never goes. And then there's kind of the hybrid model where the CSR department, oftentimes they're wearing the customer support hat. They're intaking inbound leads, but they're also, doing outbound calls. They're doing, happy checks, all that kind of thing. So let's talk a little bit about the CSR department and where AI should be and kind of, what degree it should be integrated there.
Yeah. I mean, I can venture my opinion, which is my opinion because different people will disagree, right? But it seems to me that today people are pretty comfortable with like phone trees, like you call. If you're calling for sales, it's this. It's if you're calling for that. And I think we've discovered that that doesn't piss people off too badly, right? Sometimes you call, I don't know if you guys have this, and you're like pushing zero over and over again. Customer representative, customer representative.
Talk to a human.
Yes, stop it. You are not helpful. Okay, so you do not want to create that experience. Let's just start there. We can all agree that that's a bad experience. Um, and we can also agree that for most people, they don't necessarily need like this big, full, hey, this is Jen. You've reached, 1, 2, 3 comfort systems where we aim to make your day better every day. How can I make your day a great day? Right? Some of this is a little bit overkill if they're like, I just need someone to come out of my house, look at my system.
Sure.
Okay, right. So there's a balance, right? There's a time when certain customers need a human connection, and some of them do not, right? And so I think we can all agree that the people who just need something transactional, that's a completely appropriate place for an AI CSR. I think that's a fairly uncontroversial statement. So then the question becomes, where do I draw the line, right? Like, which people need to talk to a human, which of them don't? Obviously, after hours, great application, because if somebody calls you at 9:30 at night, they're probably not expecting a human to answer the phone. But if they get something more than an answering machine, they get something that can actually schedule something for them. That's actually pretty cool. Now you just exceeded their expectations, as opposed to like, well, it's 40 degrees in my house because it's 10 degrees outside and my heater's not working. Can someone call me back, please? Hopefully, you guys are checking this before 9 o'clock tomorrow morning because I don't want to freeze
Right.
on night. Right? Like there are times when expectation from the customer changes. So really what you're trying to do is you want to match or exceed customer expectations. People call places all the time. They get an AI answering service or they get a call tree or something like that. So the question is, how do you filter, right? Like I think that most customers would be fine with an AI answering service picking up the phone if they knew that if their problem was serious, they could talk to a human. So
Absolutely.
how do you bridge that gap? That's the question.
Right. And so just a little bit about, what we're doing at Breezy. And I think, you brought up a really good point is homeowners, customers, just consumers in general, they've experienced AI call takers. And there's good ones and bad ones. And
Yeah.
there's this guy online who does this skit. He has a really funny voice. He's like, "Hi, this is an AI agent for blah blah blah. To say something for, scheduling." And then there's like, they say something. And then he's like, "You said you want to continue this call in Mandarin." And then he like, so he just does this whole skit. But I think at Breezy, what we try to accomplish is we take that hybrid approach, right? So it's like it's after hour CSR, nights and weekends. It's stating that it's an AI service,
Mhm.
and it's not trying to confuse or convince people that it's a real human being, because I just don't think the technology is there yet. And even if it was, I don't think we'd want to lie to our customers, right? So if you're down for another demo, just kind of wanted to show you guys what our after hours AI CSR looks like. And there's a number you can call and even demo it. But this is for Popa HVAC that we installed. So I'm going to pull this up real quick.
This seems like such an easy add-on. If I'm a contractor, I
Right.
mean, so I guess if you're a contractor listening to this, I would say I'm wondering how I'm going to implement HVAC or AI into my business. This is such an easy jumping off point. Like if you don't have an after hours or weekends AI answering service, get one. It's so easy. You really don't want to be picking up your phone when you're at the beach with your family and your wife's like, "Are you
Yep.
going to pick that up? Are you going to answer that? Don't pick it up." "I have to, honey. It's a business call."
Right.
Don't do that.
So after hours, this AI CSR can answer the phone. It can qualify your requests. It can automatically book jobs, and it can remind people, that just like you said, they can talk to a human. We can escalate this to a human if necessary. So just take a listen to this.
Hello, this is Brand from Popa HVAC. I'm the After Hours AI virtual assistant. How can I help you today?
Hi, I need help. My HVAC system is not turning on and it's pretty hot out here.
Oh no, that sounds frustrating. Since it's after hours, we do have an on-call technician available. Just a heads up, the trip fee is $200. Unless you're a club member, then it's only $49. Would you like me to gather your info so we can get someone out to help?
Yes, please.
All right, let's get this sorted. Can I get your first and last name?
Yes, my first name is CJ and my last name is Todd.
Got it, CJ Todd. Is this the best number to reach you at?
Yes, 209-349-1524.
Perfect. Can you tell me your address?
1234 Cherry Lane.
1234 Cherry Lane. Got it. And the city and zip code?
Merced, California 95348.
All right, Merced, California 95348. When did you first notice the issue?
It was about 3 hours ago.
Got it. And how did you hear about us?
I just did a quick Google search. I'm gonna get some prank calls today, I think, Seth.
Hold
I
on a
think
sec.
so too.
All right, CJ. I've got all your info, and I'll make sure someone from the team reaches out to confirm during normal business hours. Don't forget to ask your technician about our club membership discounts. Anything else I can help you with?
Nope, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you for contacting Popa HVAC. Have a great day.
So I have this kind of weird thing where I'm like overly polite to like AI, like chatbots, because I'm prompting Alexa in the house in front of my kids. I'm talking to, I want my kids to like pick up like me modeling politeness and stuff. So like everybody makes fun of me about it. It's like, dude, why are you saying please to Alexa? It's just like I don't know. I just like want my kids to know like manners. So I'm like overly respectful to AI.
Yeah,
So
it's
when it
funny.
takes over the world, maybe it'll remember that.
Yeah, exactly. It's like that CJ guy was actually a pretty nice guy, so maybe we kill him last, you know?
So what do you think that did well, Seth?
Yeah, I really like a few things about that. The first one is I'm an AI after hours answering service. People are like, you know what you're getting. I also really like how it said, hey, we have an after hours technician. It's a $200 trip fee. Do you want to move forward? Because then when a person comes out, there's no First of all, you can't haggle with AI, and they know that. Like, well, why is it 200? Can't you just do it for $50? Like the AI is going, I'm sorry, CJ, it's a $200 trip fee. Do you want to schedule that or no? Right? It's because it's not a human being, you don't get the haggling, but it's very upfront about there is a cost. If you want me to send a technician out after hours, you will be paying a premium. And then the person has the decision to say, I don't care. It's freaking hot in my house. Just send somebody out. I'll pay whatever it is. So there's a filtration process there that benefits you, the contractor. If you're not interested in that, if you don't care enough, just call me during normal hours, right? Because, there are homeowners who will abuse you unless you abuse them back by saying, okay, it's 200 bucks, right? Like there's got to be a fair exchange of value there. And I really like that. And pulling the information, all of that stuff. It was just, I would have stayed on the line with that AI agent. I wouldn't hang up on them. So that's,
Nice.
for me, the ultimate test of whether it did a good job. Am I going to hang up or am I going to stay on? I'm going to stay on because I want to get this thing done.
Love that. So again, just to reiterate, everybody grab that HVAC AI playbook. There's 6 core focus areas in your business. There's a lot of tools like this discussed, both from our companies and from a lot of other companies. We would try to be as brand agnostic as possible in there while still giving you a lot of really good information. Let's shift the focus a little bit away from where AI is having an impact and how to kind of vet AI, how to identify which ones you need, which ones you need to steer clear of, how to identify kind of like overlaps. Like you don't want to be paying the 12 grand you said, like to get every single AI system. So like, what do we need? What can we maybe punt on? And like, how do we understand how they all kind of like puzzle piece together?
Mm-hmm. Um, I guess off the top, one of the best ways to define this is what you don't want, right? So to me, I see a lot of software companies entering the space with fees that are really pretty exorbitant. Somebody comes in, they offer to solve this very discrete problem for you, and they're like, it's $250 per month per technician. You're like, really? That feels like a lot of money per month per person to perform a task that is, it's helpful, but it's not like this crucial thing that's killing my business today. And so the first thing I look out for is somebody rolls in and agrees to do this very basic task for you, and they want $1,800 to $2,500 a month. This may not be a person who has your best interest at heart. So there's an element of price gouging that has been, how do I say this without making anybody feel like they're being attacked? Let's just say there are certain software companies that charge a lot of money. And so that is sort of price conditioned contractors to paying a lot of money for certain types of software. And so I would be leery of places that come in and drop really high prices. Remember, you're a contractor, okay? Like you're running a regular nuts and bolts business. You don't make a dollar unless somebody goes out to a house and installs or fixes or does some piece of equipment. That's your origin, okay? I think staying with that, like staying in that lane rather than saying, I'm a tech company, guys, you make money one way. And so find things that deliver real value and real solutions to real problems in a way that delivers value to you. I always think about value is your benefit minus your cost. What do I get from this thing and how much does it cost me? Whatever's left over at the end, that's the measure of my value. And so are you getting real value? Because guess what? If the benefit you get out of that is roughly equal to the cost, there's not a whole lot of value there left for you. So there's a lot of people coming in with AI solutions that cost a ton. And you have to wonder, geez, is this going to pay for itself? If the ROI on AI is not just astronomically obvious, it's probably a bad tool. So we can start there. The second piece too is that the purpose of AI is to make your job easier, not harder. So if you talk to people and it sounds like implementing this piece of technology is going to be really complicated and difficult,
Mm,
that's a sign of one of two things. Either they haven't thought through their product well enough, it's not thoughtfully enough designed, or it's just not a good product for you. So if it's not just easy, like the goal here is to make your life easier. If it doesn't make your life easier, it's not a good product for you. So, like, is it delivering value? Does it make my life easy? At the very high level, those are great filters to apply to any new AI, like fitting pieces together, because there's a lot of cool tools out there. And guess what? If you were like some brilliant software developer programmer, you could probably implement all of them into your business in a way that was really seamless and cool, but you're not.
right.
And do what works. There's a quote from Deng Xiaoping, he was the communist Chinese leader who kind of they stepped down some of the Mao's communist policies into more of a capitalist approach. And he has this quote I'm really fond of where he says, "It doesn't matter if it's a black cat or a white cat as long as it catches mice." At the end of the day, the only thing that matters is what works for your business. So if all your friends tell you this is an amazing product and you try it and it doesn't work for you, guess what? It doesn't work for you. Only thing that matters is the proof is in the pudding. Does it work for you? So I think that that's a great way to approach this. If you try something and you give it a real try, not the fake try of like, well, I tried it out, but you didn't really put value or like effort into it, because that's a problem everywhere. You get busy, you don't give it a fair shot, it doesn't work. That
Sure.
it's never going to work, but it's got to work. I mean, at the high level, be practical in your approach to AI.
Absolutely. And I think you touched on a good point is maybe the first places to identify a need are the ones that have the highest return,
Mhm.
the ones that are tied to a revenue activity, right? So in the HVAC AI playbook, you want to download that. There is a framework, a step-by-step framework, 5 steps to kind of understand what like a systems audit, an operations audit where there are bottlenecks or maybe leakages that you need to plug. So download that, work through that step-by-step guide, and reach out to us if you need some help working through that. I also
I can
want
give
to go ahead.
I can give a very practical solution that follows these guidelines, which is, what do you pay an after hours or AI person to answer your phones? Because if you can replace that with an AI answering service that costs you, let's say, a half or a quarter as much or something like that, that's a very easy, obvious ROI. Okay. Like SetSale. SetSale's $400 a month. And I always tell people, do you think you're going to sell one additional UV light per month if you utilize this tool? I was like, well, yeah, obviously. Great. Then it just more than paid for itself. So there are certain solutions that have a very clear and obvious ROI, right? And that's what you should be looking for. Okay, to sign up for a set sale, if I sell literally one piece of IAQ additionally per month, I just paid for itself and then some. That's obvious. Hey, I'm paying X number of dollars for after hours and for my weekend answering services, and I can cut all of that and pay this much. Obvious and easy. So, like thinking about things that way. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, all good. Also available in the playbook some red flags to watch out for. So some of those are like no HVAC specific workflows or terminology, vague or unsubstantiated ROI claims to this point, right? No direct integration with the field management software. So there's a few more red flags to look out for, and then there's some vetting questions to ask. If you do sit in on a demo and you're a little kind of confused by some things, there's a list of vetting questions. So things like which HVAC companies are actually using this today and how does it integrate into my FSM? What problems does it solve within the first 90 days? There's a couple of extra ones in there too, but those are some high impact ones. Cool. Well, I think moving forward, as we're winding down on time, I'd love to understand where you think AI is headed next and kind of what we should look out for and maybe start planning for in, our operations over the next 12 to 24 months.
This is such an interesting question. And I'm going to start my answer by saying nobody really knows the answer to this, okay? Because none of us can see the future. But this is the kind of thing I get super excited about because we're building some really just amazing freaking tools that are moving in this direction that all come down to where is it going next? I think more and more getting connected data, right? And so one of the challenges historically we've had is that software company builds a tool that's designed to service, all 25 different home service verticals. So you're getting the same software as the guy who's a pool cleaner or the pest control guy or the painter, or it's like, they have a very different set of challenges from what you have as an HVAC company. And so I think the really beautiful thing about what's coming here in the next 12 months is lots of very HVAC specific solutions. Like SetSale, all we do is HVAC. We can accommodate plumbing, electrical, but Breezy, another great example, you focus on is HVAC. And I just feel like when you try to be all things to all people, you end up being a very diluted solution for the people who have a specific need. And so what Breezy is doing by saying we're just going to focus on HVAC contractors, I think is absolutely brilliant. It's the same approach we've taken. We've had a number of people like, oh my gosh, I love what you're doing. Can you do that for garage doors? Can you do it for roofs? Can we or will we? Yes, we can. No, we won't. Because my goal is not to be everything. I just want to be the very, very best for HVAC contractors. And I'm not trying to expand beyond that. And so whatever is good for an HVAC contractor, that's what I'm going to do. And I know that Breezy has a similar model there, which is so what I see is really exciting over the next 12 months is all of the ways that you've had to like jimmy rig your systems in the past, all of the ways you've had to like tweak this or take a shortcut here. This is too hard because this is designed for the roofing people on this platform. You don't have to do that. It's going to be very specifically tailored to your specific business. And that's the part I think is so cool, especially as we talked about silos earlier, data silos. I mean, if my marketing information, the stuff that's coming out of my website, is a reflection of what's sitting in my FSM, in my actual systems, that's all synced perfectly. If my financials are all tied there and that's synced up perfectly, if the front end tools that my selling techs or comfort advisors are utilizing when they go into the home have a very consistent look and feel, the exact same data as what's on my website, in my FSM, if that is all totally consistent and clean, that means that AI can automate whatever you want. Whichever parts you want automated, automate. The parts you want to handle with a human connection, handle that way. But just super flexible, very customizable, and dialed in to your exact business. If you can wave a magic wand and get the exact system that you want, that's the system you're going to get. And that, I think, is super exciting because even though HVAC is just one niche among the gigantic home improvement industry, it's an important niche. And if you're somebody who lives in that niche, it's important to you that the software you're utilizing is built specifically for you by people who come from your industry who actually know how things are supposed to operate, right? The difference between a really thoughtfully constructed piece of software and a piece of software that's just a one size fits all is a big difference in how you experience the software and how it affects your business. So I'm emphasizing this because it really almost can't be overstated. Having a piece of software that is really designed to you specifically is like putting on a pair of pants, your favorite pair of pants, when you're like, dude, these pants just fit so perfect. and they're so comfortable and they're soft and they look good. Like versus you just go grab a pair of pants off the rack over at Marshalls or something. You slide them on. You're like, this is not designed for a person who is built like me. You know, this part's too tight, that part's too loose. Why did they do this? Who's the idiot who put that part of this, like this extra stitching in here? That doesn't make any sense. Like that's the difference is your comfort levels. Like, do you love putting on this pair of pants? Or every time you put it on, you're like, I bought this pair of pants in a hurry. I never should have bought it. That's the difference between like
Yeah.
a really good piece of software that's designed specifically to your industry versus something that's designed for everybody.
I appreciate you saying that. Yeah, we take a lot of pride in, being HVAC specific, plumbing, electrical. And I, 32, 30, I'm built kind of weird. So I get my pants tailored. I wear exclusively Lululemon jeans. That might sound bougie, but I need that little stretch in there, Seth. I need that stretch. Um, and so from my perspective, I think, the next 12 months is going to be interesting, not just from the AI tools that we implement to help us run our business, but also the AI that's recommending us to our homeowners, right? So I mentioned before, homeowners are getting younger, more comfortable with that human light buying experience. And at the same time, right now, nearly half of the consumers are getting answers and making decisions based on what AI is recommending. So, Google AI search, people are searching directly inside of ChatGPT. ChatGPT is rolling out their own, web browser, and that's going to be interesting to see how that goes. So that means discoverability is going to be an issue, right?
Mhm.
It's not just a Google SEO problem anymore. It's an AI concern because if AI doesn't trust your brand, if you're not showing up with the right kind of website and the right content and the right reviews, then you're not going to get recommended and people aren't going to find you, right? So at Creative, we're rolling out a new product called AI Trust Signals. And so what AI Trust Signals is the markers that digitally AI is looking for, similar to kind of how Google scraped for SEO, in the last era of the .com. But now AI and LLMs, they have a much more nuanced framework with how they collect information from your website, from your socials, from YouTube, from the review sites, from other like online sources like directories or maybe media mentions of your brand. So AI is really kind of omnipresent now, and people aren't even going to websites; they're just looking up in the Google search. So Creative has an AI trust score that takes about 5 minutes, and it shows you how AI and the LLMs evaluate your brand. And it's going to give you like a 1 to 100 score, and based on that score, the software system gives me kind of a roadmap to help implement some foundational gaps on the website, some fixes to those over the course of 60 to 90 days, and then we really work with contractors to help strengthen their AI trust signals over time with some ongoing content. So, in this new era, if AI doesn't understand or trust you, they're not going to recommend you, and it's going to be more difficult for you to get discovered online. So that's kind of my key takeaway from what's coming next in the next 12, 24 months. But yeah, I'd love to get into like a Q&A session now. And what closing thoughts do you want to leave everyone with today?
You know, there's the old expression, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. And I think that a lot of people kind of feel that way about AI. Like, man, I've been doing this for 20, 30 years. Do I really have to make this transition? And I think it's important to remember that people are not dogs, right? Like we're capable of reinventing ourselves. We can evolve, we can learn. And I think there's a certain level of resistance that's natural because when you have something that's worked for 10, 15 years, you're like, dang, I have this thing that's working. I can sense there's a big shift. Do I really want to do this shift? And I guess my advice would just be like just be open. You can learn this. If you just start, it's it's much less complicated than you think it is, right? Just be willing and open to learn about new things and try something new. It's the old expression, the best time to plant a tree is 10 years ago. The second
Mm,
best time is today. So you didn't pick up AI a year ago. You didn't do it 6 months ago. You didn't implement these solutions. That's okay. You're not hopelessly behind. It's not like you're like, no, I can never catch up. No, just th tell yourself, you know what? I'm gonna be open to some of these solutions. Let's just try it out. If I don't understand it, that's okay. I'll start at the bottom, work my way up. But these things are not so out of reach and so complicated that a normal person, just your average contractor, can't learn them and utilize them in their business, right? It's much easier. It reminds me of a training I had with a guy a few months ago. He was understandably nervous about like implementing a new piece of software. And he called me, I think it was about a week later, a few days or a week later. And he said, I bet my 10-year-old son could do this. And if I'd have known, he's like, I feel kind of stupid because if I'd have known how easy it was, I would have done it a lot earlier, but I was resisting it because it just seemed so freaking complicated. But once you just commit and do it, you discover that it's actually not that hard. So it's a little outside of your comfort zone and maybe in a blind spot for you. And so it feels like it's way outside your comfort zone. But if you just remove that mental block, you're like, you know what? I got to start somewhere. Let's try this. You'll probably discover it's way less complicated than you're imagining to yourself that it is, and that you can start in easy places. You can start with creative. You can start with breezy. You can start with set sail. There's some really straightforward, easy solutions that are pretty easy to put into place in your business. And so if you're feeling overwhelmed, if you're feeling confused, if you feel like this is just way outside your comfort zone, like welcome to the party. That's okay. Just start where you are. Start to improve your business, and you'll discover this is much more manageable than you think it is.
for sure. And I agree with all those statements. There's still a ton of people on. I want to just reiterate, we're here for as long as you need us. We're resources for you. So if there's any specific questions you guys have, please type them into the chat and we'll get to them. But as long as people are still on here, I have a couple questions. Seth, what could somebody do like right after this call or tomorrow to take the first step into using AI?
Talk to people who are doing it, so if you have friends who are contractors who have implemented something, you can ask them about that. The other thing too is like it costs nothing to book a demo. So,
Sure.
scan the QR code for SetSale or Breezy or both and just have a 30-minute demo. And if you like it, great. And if you think, I don't know if I'm ready for that, that's okay. You can like put that decision off and think about it for 2 to 4 weeks and then like revisit it. But you have to start somewhere. And the place you're going to start is by talking to people who get it. People who are actually in the field, who are in the trenches, who know how it's going, who can counsel you on how things would look. And I have told a few people, like, it's like, you know what? Like, based on what you have and how you're set up, I actually don't know that I'm the right solution for you. So,
Mm,
and I'm sure you've had similar
sure.
conversations. Like, there are people who won't just try to sell you everything no matter what, if it's going to suck for you. Like, have real conversations with people. Hey, based on what I'm telling you, is this actually a good fit for me? And let them tell you if it is or if it isn't, right? For set sale, I feel like 95% of people, it's a pretty good fit. But there are some people where it's like, this is probably not a good fit. So step one is you have to have a conversation. So yeah, scan the QR codes for Breezy or Set Sale, talk to CJ, talk to me. If you have other contractor friends who have been doing this, just ask them what they're doing. Find out what is the easiest first step that I can take in order to start down this road because it's not going away, guys. Like this is only accelerating. AI is not going anywhere. I always used to relate this in financing to if you could go back in time 50 years and you walked into a car dealership and they said, we don't do financing. That's a ripoff. That's just a scam for people. And I would say, what are the chances that that guy is in business today? Zero. You cannot run a car dealership today and not offer financing. If you do, you'll be out of business because 99% of cars are purchased through financing. And 10 years from now, we're going to have that exact same conversation. It's going to say, oh, imagine 10 years ago, somebody saying, I don't want to do the AI crap. I just don't want to do it. That the world is changing. We can change with it, or we can really bang our heads against the wall fighting against it. But the first step is the easiest one. Look around you, decide what is one thing that I can do today to learn a little bit more about AI and see if it's going to work in my business, and then do the thing. Don't get
For
stuck
sure.
in gazing and analysis paralysis, which people do all the time. I'm still thinking about it. You've been thinking about it for 6 weeks, bud. At some point, you just pull the trigger and do something
Yep.
about it. Don't think about it forever. You never, you know, life is to be made in the action.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. You brought up a good point. Like, there's no harm in doing a demo. The only thing that you're committing is 30 minutes of your time. And, we've done demos with contractors that are, thinking about switching from like Service Titan or House Call Pro, and they do a demo with us and they see some of our AI features and they're really interested in them. And we're like, hey, those are probably available in your current FSM too. You should, schedule
Hmm.
a meeting with your account manager and just see what you have access to before, we go down that path. So
Yeah.
you just really find the companies and the people that have your best interests in mind, because the last thing we want to do is make you pay more money for a solution that you might already have access to. That's not why we're in this industry, to like, make money and gouge you. It's just like, we're here to serve and we want to give you the best solutions and, help you get the best outcome. So
And and from a purely selfish perspective, I don't want to have a conversation from somebody 3 to 6 months from now when they're pissed at me and like,
right.
I hate your thing. It sucks. It's no good. You're like, trust me, the last thing I want is someone to sign up who's not going to benefit from this, because I'm going to end up paying for it in the long term with somebody screaming at me. And so
Absolutely.
trust me, like, we want, if you sign up for Breezy or Creative or Set Sale, like, don't do it if it's not going to be good for you. But if we can make it good for you, then that's a win-win.
For sure. We got a couple questions coming in from the Q&A. So yeah, feel free to do the Q&A part of this or the chat part of this. But so we invested in a tool, an AI tool last year that was supposed to improve response times and book rates. After about 6 months, the numbers barely moved. No one explained what the AI was actually doing. How do I avoid paying for these AIs that don't technically work? Like, how do I evaluate the outcome like beforehand, getting into like a contract or something?
That's a really good question. I will say that it's possible. I don't know who asked the question, so I can say this without. It's possible this was a user operator error. It's possible that the tool that you actually signed up for was good, but you didn't implement it correctly. And so without knowing the details, I couldn't say that. But I will also say that when you try new things out in your business, sometimes they're not going to work. What's the old expression about marketing? 50% of your marketing works. You just don't know which 50%.
Right.
That doesn't mean you stop marketing. You just are like, I'm just trying stuff. And so as you try stuff, I guess don't beat yourself up if not everything you try works right out the gate, because you're going to try things. Some of it will work, some of it won't. There's an element of trial and error here that is unavoidable. You're running a business. This is not a science. You've got to test it. Something that works in somebody else's market may not actually work in yours, right? So you're trying to figure out what it is. The key here is when you try something is have a fast feedback loop, right?
Mhm.
What you don't want to do is try something new, pay for it for a year and a half and get nothing from it. Okay. If you try something, give it 3 to 6 months. If you're not getting anything, pivot to the next thing. So it's not that you're never going to waste money, because you are. Some of these things you try out aren't going to work the way you want them to. However, just don't get into some funk where you look down at your financials and you're like, how did I end up paying X number of dollars for this for the last 14 months? We haven't even used this. Don't do that. Okay. Just watch your stuff, track it, measure it. If it's not working in 3 to 6 months, pivot, recycle it into something else and reinvest in a different one.
And earmarking, a budget that you're comfortable with for business
Yeah.
development, right? And I mean, at Creative, at Breezy, we're constantly implementing a budget that we're comfortable with to test these new tools. And, obviously not all contractors have maybe the internal bandwidth to do that. But at the same time, it's like, I just paid for 1 month of like the second to most expensive tier of an AI tool to test it out, and it was $25.
Hmm.
So that was a very low, you know, kind of cost for me to experiment with this tool, and it's incredible, right? And so now I'm like, okay, I can save $500 a month for my premium iStock account by spending $25 to this tool that generates, AI graphics that are almost as good as stock photos. So I'm saving myself money with that test, right? But that could be something that, is interesting to test out. And also maybe, being more discretionary with higher ticket items and more customer facing AI, but being really quick to implement for things that are more behind the scenes, like operational. So that would be kind of some recommendations that I have. Another question: we added an AI to our office team. Not sure exactly which one, but our CSR and salespeople don't trust it. Some ignore it. Some work around it. Others are afraid that it's replacing them. What's your recommendations on introducing AI in a way that gets buy-in from our team instead of resistance?
I think that the earlier question may have also been a tie into this question in a way, because change management is the key to every new system or process change. That includes software. All you're doing with software, all you're doing with process change is just getting people to change their behavior. And the stickiest thing in the world is human behavior. People will resist change always unless you get the buy-in. So, and there's entire books written on change management and leadership and all that kind of stuff. So, uh, you know, we probably aren't going to fully answer this question in a single, sound bite, but I will say that without buy-in, everything fails, right? What does the Bible say? Where there is no vision, the people perish. You are the owner, you're the leader. You have to set the vision. So if people aren't buying in, then you have to take direct extreme ownership for the fact that they didn't buy in and say, okay, I didn't communicate this clearly enough. I didn't communicate the end results, what we're trying to do. And if they're worried they're being replaced, then I need to address that concern up front. If that's the worry, like, guys, let me start by saying this. The goal is not to replace any of you. Their goal is for us to do more and make more money without adding headcount. That means you guys are all still on the bus. It means you're all still here, but we're using tools to make you more like efficient and more effective. And so really communicating the vision to your employees about what you're trying to do, reassuring them that I'm not going to fire you as soon as I finish this implementation. And if you do plan on firing them as soon as you finish this implementation, then may actually be the case in some situations. You might have an employee who's a problem child, and you think, if I put this in place, I can probably get rid of that person. Then, you're just going to have to work around and expect them to be an internal terrorist, because they're going to see it coming, and you're going to have to fight that until you get it in place, and then you're going to, be rid of this person. So, like, different projects have different intentions to them about what you're trying to accomplish. But if it's an overall office-wide, I don't trust this thing, there needs to be a culture shift, and it has to start at the top. You have to, the fish stinks from the head down. You set the culture, you set the vision. If you don't do it, they're not going to follow.
For sure. Well, Seth, I appreciate you showing up today, kind of putting a lot of this somewhat confusing content into context for us and really helping us understand, how we can successfully implement AI solutions into our business. If you like today's content, please download that HVAC AI Playbook. You're going to get, everything from where AI is creating real impact today, evaluating where it fits in your business, how to spot the hype and avoid expensive mistakes, what's next, and that HVAC AI action checklist. So please make sure to download that. Seth, it's an incredible session. I encourage everyone to reach out to you and just really learn more about SetSale. So thank you all for being here and investing in yourselves. Keep learning, keep leading, and we'll see you next time. Cheers, guys.